Screen time in tweens predicts ADHD. ADHD and anxiety problems made worse by electronic use. Higher screen time linked to ADHD symptoms and altered brain development. These are just some of the catchy titles that made me dig deeper into this topic. See, as a child psychologist, I've been working with ADHD families for over a decade, but I was never quite sure about what the research said about screens and their effects on ADHD brains. I actually thought some of the conclusions about screens making ADHD worse were overblown. But as I did a deeper dive into the research for this video, I learned that I was wrong in an important way. Screens may actually be making ADHD symptoms worse for some kids. And I'm going to tell you why, and then give you 3 patterns to watch for so you can figure out if that's happening for your child. And no, I'm not going to tell you to just take screens away, because that kind of advice is often impractical. As one parent told me, screens are the reason bedtime turns into a disaster, and also the only time when my house is calm. And I'm not gonna lie, that's how some days have felt in my house too. And if you've lived in that same contradiction, I hope this video helps you. I also hope that you can take a second to tap the like button below. It'll help spread this video to more families who need to see it, and it motivates me to keep making videos. So thank you for that. Now, something that does help in practice is actually understanding why screens make ADHD worse, and then changing how screens show up in your day so you're not getting caught in that calm, then chaos loop. And to understand why screens may make ADHD worse, you've got to understand the current thinking about the underlying neurobiology of ADHD. A lot of you may have heard that kids with ADHD are thought to have reduced dopamine signaling. Dopamine is a brain chemical that plays a big role in motivation, pleasure, and focus. But there's a key part that I don't think we talk about as often. This usually also means the brain's reward system is underactive. So there's less activation and less satisfaction felt during ordinary daily tasks, and sometimes even during things that are supposed to be fun. So if your brain works in a way where you don't feel as much pleasure or reward from normal activities, then naturally your brain looks for stronger fixes to feel more pleasure and satisfaction. That drive for more reward can show up as things like hyperfocus on special interests, seeking more and more novelty, riskier activities, and sometimes even compulsive behaviors like overeating. And it can also show up as impulsivity, acting without thinking it through first, because your brain is chasing the next hit of interest. Now, because of this brain profile, rapid and variable rewards are even more appealing. Quick side note, variable rewards are like when you pull a slot machine and sometimes you win and sometimes you don't. That maybe this time feeling actually makes you pull the lever more because you don't know which pull will pay off, but you know one of them will eventually. And on screens, the variable rewards aren't the screen itself, but the interruptions. A notification pops up, a new video loads, a message comes in. Those little surprises train your brain to expect novelty every few seconds. This is one reason variable rewards can keep kids hooked, especially on social media and fast short-form content. They're unpredictable likes, notifications, and new content. And the kicker for ADHD brains is the difficulty disengaging. And we see this effect showing up in research where increases in screen time have been linked to heightened impulsivity, which generally worsens ADHD symptoms. Smartphones and smart devices can make it even harder because they remove the natural stopping boundaries. You can have them with you all the time, everywhere. So you might be thinking, are the screens causing ADHD? In the past few years, there's more research evidence linking screens and ADHD, but like almost everything, it's nuanced. Based on multiple literature reviews and longitudinal studies, here's what we actually know. We know that heavy, unstructured screen use is often linked to a slight increase in ADHD symptoms, especially inattention. But even the high-quality longitudinal studies on screens and ADHD have confounding variables, meaning other things that get in the way of drawing conclusions, especially about cause and effect. Things like the age of the kids, the type of content, how screen use was defined, and the fact that kids with ADHD traits are often more drawn to screens in the first place because of those reward pathways we just talked about. From my own observation with families I've worked with, I've definitely seen this increase in inattentive symptoms. But I want to underscore that research also shows that causality, meaning screens cause ADHD, is not certain. In fact, there seems to be a reciprocal pathway at play. ADHD symptoms can lead to more problematic screen use, and some forms of screen use can predict more ADHD symptoms over time, especially when the use is compulsive or disruptive. So it's not the mere use of screens, it's how and when they're used that gets problematic for ADHD. And in my experience, based on what appears over and over again in the research, screens tend to intensify ADHD symptoms through 3 big patterns. These are the 3 patterns to watch for, and I think that through spotting these patterns and problematic loops, it's how parents can make the best decisions about what's right for their kids and family. By the way, with each pattern, I'm also going to give you one small change you can try first, so you're not left wondering what to do. So number 1 is the infinite feed loop. The question here is, does the screen or content have a natural stopping point? Does one TV show play at a time, or do videos keep rolling one after another? Is it short-form content where you can just keep swiping or scrolling indefinitely? When there's no natural stopping cue, that variable reward effect gets stronger. It's exactly what an ADHD brain craves, which makes it that much harder to stop. With kids caught in this loop, you'll hear, "But just one more." Or you'll also see irritability when they're interrupted, and a real loss of time when they're watching or scrolling. If this is your child, the problem usually isn't that they love screens. The problem is the screen is designed with no ending. So one small change you can try first is to add an ending on purpose. That can look like turning off autoplay, choosing content with a clear endpoint, or setting a more specific rule like 1 episode or 1 level instead of for a few minutes or an unspecified amount of time. There are different digital tools that can help you with this, because you shouldn't have to be the bad parent with a stopwatch every night. This is where today's video sponsor, Custodio, can help. Custodio is an all-in-one parental control app that helps you monitor, manage, and protect your child's device use from one simple dashboard. You can link devices across iOS and Android, set daily screen time limits, and create routines for times like homework and bedtime. When that window ends, Custodio can automatically pause distracting apps or even the internet while still allowing what you do want, like a mindfulness app or an educational app. Custodio also helps you monitor and block inappropriate websites and apps, and you'll get alerts if your child tries to access something you've blocked. For older kids, Custodio includes call and message monitoring, so you can stay informed without hovering. There's a free version you can try with no credit card required, and if you use the link in the description and the code Dr. Jacque, you'll get a discount on the annual plan. So if screens are making things harder at home, Custodio is one of the best options I know to help you take care of your kids' online safety and create more predictable screen routines. Okay, number 2 is the too late loop. The question here is, do screens interfere with their sleep? There's research evidence that screen use too close to bedtime can suppress melatonin and delay sleep onset, essentially making it harder to fall asleep. And we know sleep loss and sleep problems worsen attention and emotion regulation. So kids stuck in this pattern often look more ADHD the next day. It's not always the screen itself in this pattern. It's the sleep loss the screen use causes, which then leads to worse symptoms the next day or even after a few days. If sleep is getting hit, everything gets harder. So one small change you can try first is to make sure you protect a short buffer. Even 60 minutes screen-free before bed can help give brains a moment to settle. Pattern number 3 is the replacement loop. Basically, what are screens replacing that your child is missing out on or could be doing instead? A lot of screen time can take away from outdoor play, reading, family interaction, and social interaction. Those are all things that support attention and emotion regulation. So the question is your child getting an adequate and developmentally appropriate amount of those things? And in this replacement loop, what parents model about screens matters too. I'm going to say this next part carefully, and please know I'm definitely guilty of this too. One research cohort found that high maternal screen time, more than 3 hours per day, predicted even higher ADHD symptoms, even when the child's own screen time wasn't significant. And honestly, if we pulled up my screen time, I'm embarrassingly over that 3-hour mark. So no one's perfect. But if your family is struggling with ADHD and screens, it's worth looking at your own screen behavior too. And one small change to try for this loop is to add a positive anchor before screens, like movement, one-on-one playtime, or taking care of one responsibility, then screens. When screens come after something healthy, they're less likely to replace it. So here's my challenge for you. If screens are a struggle in your house, which pattern do you recognize most? The infinite feed loop, the too late loop, or the replacement loop? And what's one thing you could do right now to interrupt that loop? Go ahead and put it in the comments. And if you want, include your child's age and what happens after screens end. I'll pick a few comments and think through these loops and some suggestions in a follow-up video. And if you want to remember this whole video in one sentence, it's this: start with better endings, better sleep, and better anchors. And if the hardest part in your house is what happens after screens end, like the yelling, the hurtful words, or the full-on meltdown, check out this video next. Because a lot of parents accidentally fall into 7 traps that can actually worsen their child's anger. And once you see them, you can handle those big blow-ups with a lot less stress. Remember, put your relationships first. I'll see you in the next video.